This is New Home Insights, the John Burns Real Estate Consulting Podcast. I'll be your host, Dean Worley. As the title promises, we're going to bring you insights into everything housing, latest trends, innovations, observations, and issues of the day. We'll bring in colleagues here at John Burns and also some major industry players from all across the country. This podcast is going to be quick, fun, but also hopefully make you think. So see you here every couple of weeks. Now let's get to it. Hey, welcome to New Home Insights Podcast by John Burns Real Estate Consulting. I'm your host, Dean Worley. Today, we have another treat for you. We're going to talk about design. It's near and dear to all of our hearts here at JBREC, and hopefully to yours too listening. And I know for a fact it's very near and dear to the heart of Lisa Parrish, our guest. Lisa, please say hi.
Hey, how are you today?
We're doing great. I hope you are too, because we are going to talk about some fun stuff today. About design. First of all, why don't you go ahead and just give a little intro of who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. So I'm Lisa Parrish, and I am the Chief Creative Chick for Team PMP. And my title always gets a good laugh, but it is meant to be tongue-in-cheek and have some fun. Team PMP is the new evolution and adaptation of Peter Mayer Productions. And for the last 30 years, I have been producing alongside my father, who we actually bought the company from, some of the largest awards programs in the nation for new home sales, marketing, and design. So it's been a great blast, and I've seen a lot of stuff over the last 30 years, and we continue to carry on that passion.
That's good. That's actually really good, because that's what we're going to talk about. So perfect. What a coincidence. So we're going to talk about design today, but specifically kind of about the national emerging trends because you have your finger on the pulse of that better than anyone else in the known world. I'm not exaggerating. Am I?
Well, no, it's kind of incredible if you think about it. Just like, for instance, the Gold Nugget Awards, which we just finished up for the spring, is an international design competition, and we receive over 600 entries. And during the judging process, I read every single one of those entry statements to the judges. So just being immersed and seeing all of that is pretty impressive.
So you help coordinate all these awards programs, MAME and Gold Nugget and the Nationals. So let's start with that. Can you sort of tell us a little bit about that process? So let's start with how do you pick judges for those shows?
Well, Dean, where they come from is they're normally someone that has been an entrant in another market. And the reason for that is it's good to have someone from the other side of the table. So if you're an entrant in your own home market, the opportunity to go and judge and sit on the other side of the table and review your peers outside of your space with a pure heart and get an understanding that everyone comes into this with the best intentions to find the best and recognize those who are worthy is, a beautiful give back to the industry. And I cannot tell you how many people have said after coming back from judging, that was the most incredible 2-3 days I've ever spent, sitting alongside my peers, reviewing the work of others. And I learned a lot, had a lot of fun. And, it was just really valuable to myself and my profession.
So they're putting just a ton of thought into that. I mean, they want to get it right.
Absolutely, because, they've been on the other side of it. So they feel that, they're doing the right by the entrant. And, the idea of it is really to elevate and to share that information to, create better best practices in the industry for others. So
I know we can talk about this forever, but, what's the key criteria of how winners are determined?
I think when everyone sits down to review, they're looking to see somebody who is doing above and beyond or doing something a little bit different or pushing the envelope. A judge once said to me, turning on the lights, fluffing the pillows, and doing your job, that you get a paycheck. It's what you do that's above and beyond or pushing the envelope a little bit further that is worthy of recognition and award.
I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second here. So sometimes every once in a while you hear people, I don't know if complaint's the right word. It probably is. You hear some folks say, I'm not going for an award here. I'm trying to sell homes. Do you ever get how do you deal with that sort of that push and pull, that give and take?
So, I always refer back to the Academy Awards and I say basically, yeah, you know what? Guess what? They're just trying to sell movie tickets. But at the end of the day, the Academy Awards or any awards program is the greatest marketing tool you can possibly use to talk about and to elevate your product, your person, or your space. And so look at it that way. Don't look at it as just an opportunity to recognize your team, but look at it as a differentiator in the marketplace to set yourself apart. I don't know of anybody who doesn't want to say, I live in an award-winning home or I live in an award-winning neighborhood. The Home of the Year at this year's Gold Nugget Awards is a perfect example. So they had a choice of 5 different homes that they could have chosen. And, some of these homes are priced in the $2 million range. But at the end of the day, they ended up choosing a home in the Inland Empire of Southern California that's priced $450,000. It was efficient and effective to build, and it was a sales success for its builder. And I guess that's just it. Maybe what we're doing is we're looking for that design that fits a need, but yet at the same time, we live in the HGTV land today where everybody wants to have an Instagrammable home. So it's hard.
How are hosts determined for things like, for your shows, would I don't know, the host of a prominent new home podcast be someone you might look at? And by the way, I'm asking for a friend.
Oh, you know what? That's an incredible idea. I think I know somebody you should send your demo reel to, and we'll put that in front of them. We'll pass it across the desk.
That's very. I'll tell my friend.
Very good.
Okay, let's go back in time a little bit, though. I mean, you've been working on these award programs for a long time, since before the big downturn, the last big downturn there in 2007 and 8. How have things changed? How have sort of product, community? Let's start with product, I suppose. How have housing product changed in your mind? What you're seeing since over this last cycle?
It's interesting. Going back 30 years, I went through the downturns of the early 90s and others. So, realistically, we've been in the longest upcycle for this run up. And what you find when we have downturns, or what I like to call slowdowns, is it allows everybody to take a deep breath and consider that they have to make some adjustments because there is either a shift in the market or in the opportunities, and they have to be more considerate of their design. And there's nothing wrong with that. That actually is when we have, great strides and ingenuity that comes forth and different products that emerge. And so there's some opportunity to a slowdown that builders don't see when they're running, when we're running so fast all the time, bringing things to market. So,
I see what you mean.
Consider that.
Because, that's almost a little counterintuitive, though, in a sense, because it seems like when things have slowed down, when the market has slowed down, wouldn't there be kind of a retrenchment like, hey, go back to the bread and butter? Whereas when things are flying high, hey, let's experiment a little bit. But it sounds like that's not so true.
I think it's better when they sit there and they feel like they have to make an adjustment because they're being forced to, because nobody changes unless they're forced to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the one's ability to adapt and find product that fits a need, that's where you find success, right? And it forces you to be a little more creative. So I think that this is sometimes their slowdowns are a nice normal necessity in our world.
That's interesting. That actually makes sense. Now, the way you say that is that, what can we do that's different here in this kind of harder times right now, as opposed to, hey, I can pretty much build anything and it'll sell during these great times. So that does make sense now that you say that.
Right. I mean, think about it. Think of, just seeing the builders shift into, looking for opportunities and smaller spots and markets. And, look at what Toll's doing in Utah and Idaho and Nevada with their new smaller line and affordable pricing. You can still buy a Toll Brothers house in Idaho or Nevada for $350,000, which is a really nice price point, and it still feels and lives wonderfully.
How about going back in time in your reverse crystal ball? How did over this last cycle here? How has communities have changed? Let's put it this way: back when things turned, a decade ago, how did communities start to change? Did they?
Creating place became such a huge, opportunity and mantra, not just, a sea of homes surrounded by one single amenity. Now, you really have to craft something important and something more, long lasting. The challenge of changing those amenities to fit today's lifestyles is definitely something key. I mean, the fact that hiking trails is one of the number one things that people want to see rather than in dog parks. Hiking trails, dog parks have taken over pools and gyms.
You're preaching to the choir. I've been
Right?
telling people dog parks. I can't tell you how many master plans I've worked at. And I don't see a dog park. Well, we didn't stop right now. Put in a dog park, then we'll talk.
Well, I mean, fur babies are, what are they, like the number 2 thing right now? So having that ability to understand where people's heads are today and, finding that space and that place for them, I think is going to be key. Not only, that's what we've seen over the last 10 years. People have gotten so much smarter, and you've seen the developers figuring that out. What
else kind of besides the sense of place and that sort of was a success factor in these last 5-10 years that you saw change? Anything else?
Tribal mentality for sure. I mean, look at Margaritaville in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what a fantastic branding opportunity to be able to, see that there's going to be this boomer market, see that they're a tribe, and, lean into that. And, you're seeing that Whisper Valley in Austin, they're a sustainable neighborhood with, geothermal and solar and other technologies for those folks who are very into that sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think their number one buyers are engineers and doctors who really want to live that lifestyle. So I think it's just all finding those opportunities out there.
So let's fast forward a little bit, and you might have teased this, some of this already, but now it's current, is the last year or so, and going into the future. You see all those great master plans and all those homes you see in your award show. You have this perfect view to spot trends and changes that are coming. What trends are you seeing now? Let's start the big picture. Let's start at the community level this time. Are you seeing things that you think are going to take off, or are changing now, or might be taking off here in the near future?
I see smaller scale amenities, places for people to gather, opportunities in those spaces. I mean, the hub at Daybreak is a perfect example. These are these smaller little amenity spaces that are almost like coffee shops where people gather and greet each other during the day and take a break and just have that moment to connect with their community.
Yeah.
In Dallas, Harvest, they have a farm co-op, and a farmer is actually on site teaching people to farm.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, those are those grassroots, smaller scale things that aren't going to be, you're not going to see that everywhere. It's just they're finding opportunities and pockets that fit the lifestyles that they're looking for.
Yeah. So just kind of these it sounds kind of almost these niches that service a subset of that buyer pool out there. Is that fair to say?
Yes, absolutely.
That's interesting. Farming. Okay. You see a lot of the urban farms and the community farm, but actually have a farmer out there. I'm assuming the farmer wears overalls and has like a straw hat.
It's so funny. He doesn't. And the neat thing is he's kind of like this very cool dude, but he's a commercial farmer who's actually doing the commercial farming on the property. But yet at the same time, he's teaching those folks to be able to farm in their own backyard or within his plots. And it's the 2019 farmer, that's for sure.
He's got a 3-piece suit and a Maz. He's got a Lamborghini. How about now scale it down? How about in the homes? What are you seeing right now, cutting edge? What do you think maybe might be ready to take off?
It's so funny. So like I said, I read all the marketing statements to all of the judges during the judgings. And the keywords that I read over and over again, and we've kind of made internally a small joke, is spa-like bath. Matter of fact, if I say spa-like bath, we always say drink because it could be a drinking game because that seems to be the number one term. Obviously, the glorified chef's kitchen is also a key point, and then rooftop deck. So those are the 3 things we say a lot. But that's not always, obviously the master bath and the kitchen are you can do that in any size home at any price point. I guess what we're trying to figure out now, what everybody's trying to determine, is scaling and right sizing those to the attainable price points that we're trying to reach now because of the affordability issues that everyone's facing.
Do you think folks are getting used to the idea, buyers, I mean, to the idea of, smaller private outdoor spaces, and they're okay with that?
Of course, just anywhere that they can be outside, having that livability, that extension of the home, that is absolutely the next level. That is the differentiator.
How about one story versus two? I've always found that that's a draw, even in a family-oriented market. I mean, it's obvious that it moved down folks, and certainly 55 plus, they're going to demand that. But do you see that as being a key factor for just about any buyer type?
I will tell you straight out, we hear it across the country in almost every market. A single story ranch plan, if it was offered, would outsell almost every other plan in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It is absolutely universally, the bestseller in almost every market.
It's amazing. Same. And we hear that a lot. It's just, obviously it's hard to make. We have these two kind of countervailing forces, don't we? We have lots and it kind of decreasing, density is increasing. It's getting harder and harder to do one story product in that kind of environment.
Making the numbers work.
Yep.
Absolutely, where you have the opportunity. So, but yeah, if there's an availability and opportunity, it's definitely the winner. I mean, Saucy Burbank was doing a product in Charlotte recently. They had modeled it for a first-time home buyer, but it struck a chord with the empty nester and the move-down buyers so well that they actually adapted it and hit a price point, and it's been a huge sales success for them, just for the sheer fact that that's what people were looking for.
How about, is multi-gen here to stay?
That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't know. I have yet to hear of the sales successes of it. You hear about a lot of people doing it, but it's on the come. Like right now it's for those boomerang kids from college. Yeah. I don't know how many folks are having their parents live with them yet.
We've seen quite a bit. I'll say I'm in Northern California, and we see it pretty successful. So it tends to be, because you do have a lot of families, have a lot of ethnicities, especially in the Bay Area, that they're likely going to have their parents live with them. So it's been those plans with a really good multi-gen little suite, with maybe not just a bed bath, maybe a little kitchenette and a little living space, do pretty well.
I will tell you, the ones that I've seen lately, though, you're right. They're much more thoughtful, and they're considerate. And you look at them now and you go, they're almost, it's not just the bedroom and a little kitchenette. Now they're almost apartment-like. Yeah, exactly. And so, I think those ones, I think that's the evolution of the next gen. That's probably where it's headed.
Yeah. How about we talked about affordability. How about sort of multi-family living, literally two families living in one house so they can share that mortgage? Do you think that's something that we might see a trend toward that?
You're going to see that as we go into, these young millennials who can't afford to buy a house because they have the student debt and the other challenges that they're finding. That might be an answer for a lot of folks. So especially on the coast where pricing is so high, definitely going to be considered.
Any thoughts on another little cutting edge thing that starting to hear perk up is co-living?
Yes.
Are you seeing more of that? Do you think that's something that has legs?
We have seen it, and it's definitely market driven based on the area and the acceptable idea of it. Yeah. But Seattle, Northern California, definitely those are markets where you're going to see that, just for the sheer fact of the high price points. Yeah,
that's actually a good segue. I was going to ask you next about are you seeing regional differences in market, whether it's product, community? Are you seeing that happening? Do you think we'll see more regional differences coming forward?
It's so interesting because you're exactly right. I mean, it's all good. I think in this cycle, or this, what we are calling our slowdown possibly, is you are going to see that. And it's all going to be the opportunity for land and affordability and trying to fit those dollars so that we can find those buyers. The 3,000 square foot single family detached home is probably going to have to adjust quite a bit to make it through.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that's driving folks to. I mean, right? A lot of people are in the political world. They call it voting with their feet, where they're
Mm-hmm.
moving to Texas or whatever. That's really driven 9 times out of 10 by high prices. So maybe that's what will, in regional differences, is really mostly price difference from the coast to inland, and where they can still have those desirable ranch homes on a good sized lot.
Well, I mean, look at the folks who are leaving the Bay Area and moving to Reno and
Yes,
Las Vegas and Boise, Idaho.
boys, yeah.
And they can buy a home for, almost a third of what their payment was or what their house was in California. And it's a brand new home, and it's great. And they have, affordability, they have lifestyle, they have just an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I was just in Reno 2 weeks ago, and it's amazing how much of that buyer pool there for the new home in the new home space is California driven.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, look at that. No
huge.
Sales tax. And, you can get back to California if you need to really rapidly, and, nice climate. So, yeah, I think we're definitely going to see that.
Now you've gone too far. Not in the winter.
Nah. Yeah, but there's a lot worse places to be. That's
sure. There is. How about by location in terms of like urban versus suburban? Maybe do you see that?
You are seeing, there's opportunity in small pockets. You're seeing the builders having to go into a smaller scale because there's just not a lot of land. They're definitely having to go more vertical to get into the price point with smaller square footage. So it's all, it's deal by deal at this point, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Anything else? Any emerging trends you really want to highlight here?
I guess what it is today is we have to look at the opportunities to showcase to folks that there's a reason to be in a new home. I think OfferPad and Opendoor have made an incredible opportunity for a lot of our folks. Recently, you're seeing, I've had 2 instances just in my own family where, there was an opportunity to sell the home that they had through one of those OfferPad or Opendoor and be able to move into a new single family home that was already, standing inventory, and they were able to move in 30 days. And they didn't move up, they moved across. But at the same time, it was an incredible improvement in their lifestyle. It was the opportunity to live in a brand new home. And I think that that's going to be something that builders are going to look forward to, is finding that way to convince someone to leave or to choose new over resale because of that, those elements.
Yeah, that you're right. That's definitely here to stay. We actually had Jerry Coleman on here just a few shows ago. So yeah, that's definitely something here to stay. Do you think that OfferPad and Opendoor, the others, will impact design in any way?
Because you have the availability to sell that much more rapidly, it could. I mean, we might have to get into that more effective, streamlined process. Yeah. But I do think that, the folks that are going to be looking for those new open floor plans, those spa-like master baths, that you're not going to find that without having to remodel in an existing home. So that does push us towards new homes.
That's interesting too. So what that means really is that new home builders got to just keep innovating, keep doing something that's different than what they've just done. Otherwise, that becomes much more direct competition for them.
I call it the HGTV effect because that's just it. We're competing with the dream.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, thank you. This has been tremendous. This has been fun. I appreciate you. You're coming on.
Thanks, Dean. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I wish you a fantastic day.
Awesome. This is New Home Insights podcast by John Burns. I'm Dean Worley. We had Lisa Parrish on today, and we'll see you next time.